Now bring me to the car. And I drove a car this afternoon.
So far, so good.
Which was terrific. It's the Roadster.
Yeah.
Where does that stand? You obviously, I've been in the Google parking lot.
Yeah. Okay. You've seen a few there.
I've seen a few there.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's true in other places in Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's particularly a car that appeals to people in Silicon Valley because of interest in technology and high performance and lots of other things, or what? Whether there are a lot of rich people who are willing to spend that kind of money for something they think is on the cutting edge of causes they believe in, sustainable energy.
Right.
But tell me about where you are in this development of this electric car, which
Sure.
has most of all this extraordinary sort of power.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. 0 to 60 time at 3.9 seconds,
which is,
and the
this is extraordinary when you think about the sports cars and anything else that's out on the road today.
Yeah, in fact, on the Top Gear test track, our standard Roadster beats a Porsche GT3.
Exactly,
which
that's
is
my point.
not
That's
bad.
a reference.
and the Roadster Sport will do even better.
Yeah. But you've also said, in terms of where you want to go, that developing a high-performance sports car is not what this is about.
Absolutely.
This is about something else, and you want to develop a sedan.
Yeah, the whole purpose behind Tesla, the reason I put so much of my time and money into helping create the business is we want to serve as a catalyst for accelerating the electric car revolution. The price of gas at the pump does not reflect the true cost of gasoline because you have a consumption of a public good. It's one of the most. It's really a common problem in economics. You have the same thing in fishing, where because there's no cost to fishing stocks, people just overfish and you have disaster that ensues. Right. And here we're not paying for the cost of the CO2 concentration in the oceans and atmospheres. We're not paying for all the ancillary effects of the wars and all the other things at the gas pump. So you effectively have a subsidy taking place at the gas pump because of that. So the only way to bridge that is with innovation, is to try to make electric cars better sooner than they would otherwise be.
Now, suppose this is a hypothetical which may or may not speak to the point, but suppose 15 years ago,
right?
Let's say Bill Clinton as president, who talked about the road to the 21st century and all of that. Suppose he had said, I believe so much in sustainable energy that I want to make a commitment, and the federal government, using all of its resources, will develop an electric car with appropriate battery power that will change the face of the automobile industry in the world. Was that very doable? Now, Bill Clinton was elected in 1992, 17 years ago.
Yeah. You could have made a reasonably good electric car around that time for a lot of investment.
And should that have been done? Should the U.S. government have made that kind of... Otherwise, you will not be able to change the driving habits of Americans. Was it a worthwhile expenditure at that time?
I think it probably would have been a worthwhile expenditure, but the thing that really helps electric cars is lithium-ion.
Right. And when did that come around? I mean, explain why batteries has always been the great dilemma for developing an electric car.
Sure. Well, the energy contained within a battery is so much less than is contained in gasoline that... I mean, it's really it's hard to quite describe. Another way to put it is the Tesla battery pack in the Roadster, which is the most advanced battery pack in the world.
Right.
The common reference is to call what is actually a cell a battery.
Right.
So a cell is the little single can of chemicals, and then if you have multiple cells, that's what actually a battery.
Right.
That's literally what a battery means.
Right. Multiple cells.
Multiple cells.
Right.
And usually, as the batteries get bigger and bigger, they get harder and harder to deal with. So the cell that we use is a commodity cell.
Right. It's buy it anywhere.
Pretty much, and it's the same sort of thing that's in any number of laptops.
Right.
The challenge is combining those cells and having thousands of them, making sure they're safe, making sure they'll last for 200,000 miles or 100,000 over bumps and potholes and extremes of temperature and safe in a crash, and that compounds the problem massively. And you've got to make sure the charges and temperatures balanced across the whole thing. So the difficulty is really at the pack level much more than it is at the cell level. And that's really where the single biggest area of Tesla's expertise. Although I should point out that Tesla also has, we design and build the motor and the power electronics and the software that manages the whole thing. So those are important too. But the battery is the single most important thing. And the Tesla battery pack, to reference it to gasoline, it weighs about 1,000 pounds. And it has the energy content of 2.5 gallons of gasoline. So that
means you've got to have a lot of charges.
Well, what that means is that, but there's an advantage because the consumption of that energy is much more efficient in an electric car, and this is I'll get to why is the Tesla Roadster twice as efficient as a Toyota Prius, which is obviously not a sports car,
right?
And the reason is because an electric motor is fundamentally super efficient at turning energy into motion. So a good electric motor, such as the one that we have in the Tesla Roadster, is about 90% efficient at turning the electricity into motion, whereas a gasoline internal combustion engine is somewhere typically in the range of around 17 or 18%. Most of what it does is generate heat. So even though it's only 2.5 gallons of gasoline, that 2.5 gallons of energy content goes really far compared with if you had if that was
okay compared to the Prius, but also compared to the new GM Volt.
Right.
How does it do in comparison with the Volt?
The Volt is a different architecture. It uses it's a plug-in hybrid architecture. So it's I think got about a 40-mile or so battery pack.
That's what they say, right?
And then there's an engine with a generator that allows you to go beyond the 40 miles.
Exactly.
Right. And whereas ours is pure electric, and the strategy that we've decided to hew to is a pure electric strategy. I mean, I've been criticized sometimes for responding to questions like yours to explain why we've gone pure electric, and then people have taken that to be an attack on the Volt, which is not the case. I hope the Volt succeeds, and I think it can be a pretty good car and all that kind of thing.
I don't take this as an attack. I'm asking questions.
It's not, but I just wanted to put that.
Hey, what I hope to do in this conversation with you is figure out what it is you've done, because you've got a fair amount of attention.
Sure.
Figure out why you're not further along than you are, or figure out why you are, and what your expectations are to do, and where is the game for you.
I think it's taken a while for the industry to come around to this point, but I think it's largely at this point it's almost become conventional wisdom that the future is electric cars. Right. The only question is this interim period of this transitional period. But if you look at the pace of battery improvement, it's clear that's why I mean it's inevitable. Right. The future will be entirely electric.
And the irony of all this conversation is that in the last year, a year before its bankruptcy, General Motors had announced that the Bolt, was the key to their future as an automobile company.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, one area of criticism I think that is valid regarding GM is
Prius
that
helped them come to that conclusion, by the way.
Well, they should have probably done a Prius or something like that. But I think if they had the EV1,
right, exactly, which didn't work, but didn't make it for reasons I'm not clear.
Right, and
as a marketing success.
Yeah, Chris Payne did a movie, Who Killed the Electric Car, about it, and I was sort of trying to investigate that issue. But I think it's notable that in that movie it shows that the customers who had the EV1, the cars had to be taken away from them and crushed, and they held a candlelit vigil.
Right.
If you have people that really love a product to the degree that they're willing to hold a candlelit vigil for it, that says, hey, maybe you should make an EV too.
It certainly does say that, So the car that I drove today, the Roadster 2, I think it was a Roadster before this. This is second iteration of it.
Yeah.
Came through production what year?
The first Roadster #1, the first production Roadster, which was fully Department of Transport legal and all that sort of stuff.
Met all the standards.
Yeah. It was February of last year, and that was my car.
That was the car, your car?
Yeah.
Meaning what? The one
production
that you drive?
Unit 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so then you decided immediately to make improvements on that.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a little rough going in the beginning, and we had some issues with some of the powertrain components.
Right.
In fact, not the hard stuff, but the stuff that's sort of theoretically easier. We were able to fix those and get production ramped up, and now we're at the point where we're delivering about 20 to 25 cars a week.
You know that Tata Motors, obviously I know
Ratan Tata.
Take for a moment what he's doing in India,
Yeah.
developing a little sedan for $2,300, the Nano.
Right.
Where do you put that in the whole equation of where the future of cars are?
Well, I think it's a good idea to have affordable cars. I think the problem with something like the Nano, which I think, by the way, I would say a problem. I think it's a great idea, and Rotten is a gentleman in the skull and an awesome guy all round.
All of those I agree with. Yes,
yeah.
It's hard not to.
Yeah, exactly. I think where it's going to become challenging in the future is as the price of gasoline rises. The cost of acquiring the car is a much less of an issue than the cost of operating the car.
Right.
And I think oil is
and
going
it's
to be
inevitable that it's already moving back up. And
yeah.
Do you have some assumptions in your own calculations as to where oil will level off?
I think it will exceed the numbers we've seen last year.
144.
Oh yeah, sure, absolutely. I think we'll see it start to approach $200 and beyond.
By 2010, 11, 12, somewhere in there?
I'd say whenever the next boom is. So if let's say the next boom is 4 years from now, it'll be around that point.
Of all your businesses, which one do you care the most about?
Well, right now my time is split roughly evenly between Tesla and SpaceX. So I guess it would be pretty even between the two. And Solar City is doing great on its own, and the two co-founders there, Linda and Peter Rive, have done a phenomenal job, and thankfully it requires very little of my attention.